Hi there, and welcome to this week's edition of Empowerment Hour. And once again, we are recording via the Zoom platform. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Amy, the editor, who's doing a sterling job keeping Calon FM on the airwaves all by herself. It's marvellous. And without her, we wouldn't have this show coming to you today. So what are we talking about today? So today it's I have Nick Wagstaff from Inspire Rewire with me, and we've got all sorts of hints and tips that Nick's going to share with us throughout the show to help us with this social distancing, social isolation, this almost lockdown we're in, and things that we can be doing during this time. So stay with us for the next hour of Empowerment Hour. So Nick, how are you? Lovely I can see you because it's Zoom and the listeners will be able to hear you. So how are you doing?
Hi Denise, thank you so much for inviting me on your show. I'm doing okay, actually. Yeah, up and down, but generally I'm doing okay.
Cool. Because well, in fact, just tell it, because one of the last times I saw you, you'd not long moved house. You've got a baby, so just tell us a bit about what that's like for you at the moment. Are you sorted in your new home? How's it going?
Yeah, we're pretty much settled here, thank goodness. So that's all been going well. My little girl she's 2 and 3 months, so she's at that real demanding age, that real needy age. Which is fantastic, but very, very exhausting. And this is why I can really understand quite a few different scenarios, really, because I've lived on my own, but I can understand from parents' positions that are either not used to being at home with the kids all the time, or are trying to get used to a new flow. So that's all been interesting. However, I kind of feel like I've been a bit lucky in a way, because over the winter we went away for a couple of months and we had a taster of this isolation. No childcare, no family support, and Isla at home 24 hours, and we were both working from home. The difference was that I used to be able to go out in the afternoon for a few hours and get that headspace, but it was almost like a little bit of a teaser. So I went through that journey, in a way already, and now I'm having to kind of refine it again. So I've definitely got some tips and things, and I shared a lot at the time in real time, how to get your headspace when you are kind of feeling in a situation where everything is on top of you, everything's around you, and you feel like you can't breathe. My best friend calls it bees in brain. She's got 3 kids, so it's like constantly. So how to get a little bit of peace when you've got a lot of noise around you.
Yeah, that sounds really cool, actually. And just give us a little bit of your background, so the things that you've done up until now, because I know a lot about you, but not everyone listening will have met you before.
Yeah. So I spent, just briefly, I spent 13 years in corporate learning and development. So I was head of group learning. I was based in Dubai, so I lived overseas for 8 years and got to fly around and do lots of lovely things. But it kind of took its toll on me and I burnt out. And I think this is a story that you can relate to, and others out there can as well. I loved it and it ticked a lot of boxes, but in the end, my health started to suffer. And I had to make that decision, really, to come home. So when I came out of that, doing that role, I transitioned through India, spent 3 months there, and kind of retrained in various different modalities. I trained in yoga, in Darjeeling, which I loved, hypnotherapy, NLP, did the Reiki mastery, and all sorts of bits, really. And that was really to be with my own healing. I needed to figure a lot of stuff out. I'm still on that journey, but I just threw myself into it to understand a bit more about me, get some self-awareness, so I could live the life that I want to live and be more peaceful more often, So I came back to the UK about 6 years ago now and set up my business, Inspire Rewire. I started off doing lots of one-to-one yoga classes, and I brought in my background of event management and group work to do retreats. So I did that for a while, and I worked with some amazing people to help me, like naturopathic doctors, functional medicine, all this kind of stuff, to bring me back to a bit more of a balance hormonally and all sorts, like physiologically in my body. Then I had my little girl, so that kind of went, do you know what? It's actually a bit of a reset in a weird way. But it's not really been until the last year or so that I've brought myself much more back to balance and enough energy to bring my old background and marry with my experience in the wellness industry to bring my business to a new place, which is an event business now. So I do wellbeing festivals, retreats, and mini events. So those mini events could be monthly workshops for anxiety, because that's what I experienced. So that's something where I can talk from the heart. Sound healing for relaxation. I do mini retreats, which are half days with a spa, and all sorts of bits really, which we can go on to when we do a little bit of tips and techniques and so on. But a lot of online community and support as well, which again, we can go into a little later.
Cool, thank you. We'll have a break for a song right now. Hi there, welcome back. This is Empowerment Hour with my guest today, Nick Wagstaff of Inspire Rewire. And just to remind people that you are listening to a recording of this, which is being done over the internet at this moment in time as I speak, but not as you listen. So if there's any glitches, any weird sounds, it's literally because we are in, you know, our own homes due to this social isolation. And talking of this social isolation, socially distancing, what is that like for you as a mum who's a working mum? You have your own business, trying to keep that going, and you have a 2-year-old who I'm sure by now is really beginning to, anything like my daughter when she was a 2-year-old, exert her personality and, you know, what can I say, wanting her own way most of the time.
That's a really nice way to explain it. Yeah, you know, it's challenging. It's very stressful. To be really honest, it is hard. But there's ways around it, and I think what we need to do, and this goes for men and for women, but I think sometimes when it does feel like the woman is taking that responsibility, maybe primarily, maybe, you know, whatever way, but that primary carer, whoever that is, takes that responsibility and kind of puts a lot of pressure on themselves about their well-being, about their entertainment, about their older kids' education, and so on and so forth. And it can feel very overwhelming, and it can feel a lot. My advice for you at that point is, remember, you think, oh, why is it that's me taking all the responsibility? Why do I feel like I'm the boss, or this kind of thing? I would like you to step back at that point and pause and look at the whole scenario, and then decide, you know what, being a boss could be this way, or being a boss could be that way. If this was a working environment, if this was my team, how would I start to look at the team differently, the dynamics of the team, understanding everybody's needs? And then it's having those kind of sometimes uncomfortable conversations with people in your family to kind of go, okay, this is where I am. I'm about to lose my head. So how can we work together? You know, one of my favorite quotes, Denise, is my me time is for everybody else's health and safety. You know, it's like, I've got to, and believe me, you will benefit from this. So it's really just stepping back and going, okay, so if I'm responsible for all of this, then I'm going to take that seriously and go, responsibility is also about pausing, looking after myself. And when I need to lay down for 5 minutes with earphones in my head to silence everyone and everything, then that's what I need to do, because I come out happier, I come out refreshed, I come out with a different mindset. If I need a good hour by myself, you know, and you talk about that, I'm a stickler for flip charts and things, so I can get a little bit, you know, a little bit scheduled with stuff like this. But I have learned from being with my partner, he's the opposite of me, to try and go with the flow a little bit. So trying to mix that planning and then going, you know what, like you said earlier, things happen. Someone knocks at the door in between you're having a live yoga session. It's going to happen. So just try and have a real honest conversation with the people in the house of how to work around each other, and have your golden hour. your golden 5 minutes, so you know that's always coming, no matter what happens through the day. You know, look after yourself first so you can nurture other people around you.
Oh, it's crucial, isn't it? Absolutely
Yeah.
crucial. I'm with you on that. I'm all for a bit of me time, I'll be honest. And I've always said that my time away from everyone, I hadn't thought of it as like it's good for their health and safety. But actually, I'd love that. That's just such a brilliant description of, yeah, you give me this now, and the next 23 hours will be really good for you.
Certain, you'll be happier.
Yeah.
It's funny, I like to get away on my own as well. A couple of years ago, and Isla was still, I think she was about 9 months, and I went away to a pod for 2 nights. And obviously there's really complex feelings around that, and I think it's this month actually, I'm doing a live webinar on the complex emotions around me time. Because even me, it's one of my things that I repeat over and over again, and I still feel that sometimes guilt, or sometimes do I deserve it. It's very interesting when you could go really deep into it. But
Yeah.
I went to this pod and I played music all the way there, and you know, music's really important to me. And I got there, and the first night was very, very strange. I did 2 nights on purpose. The second night felt easier, and I blogged and vlogged the whole thing. So people that live by yourselves, one tip I'd like to give you is that if you feel that it's all kind of coming in on you, like the silence or the isolation, of course we can try to reach out through social media, but is to mix up the head stuff with practical stuff. So I went there to write, I went there to think about my business. So if you're in your head like that, mix it up between, right, now I'm going to wash up, sit down and come back to it, reading for a bit, right, I've used my head, right, now I'm going to sweep up, right, now I'm going to have a shower, you know, and just split all those physical things up into bite size throughout the day. So it's head stuff, physical stuff, head stuff, physical stuff.
Cool. We'll take another break, and I'd actually like to come back and talk with you about I don't know if you've noticed it, but I certainly have. I'm not actually choosing to go outside much, so my actual movement has decreased hugely. And I know that you're offering yoga stuff. So if we take a short break and with a bit of music, and then we'll be back to talk about that.
Try to be kind to yourself and your body, and just start step by step. So I've kind of just gone back to my roots really with the wellbeing side of things. The business was moving in one direction, and it still will be, but it's kind of on pause while I really just help people out there that need that support. So I'm giving away all sorts of free online classes at the moment. The 3 main ones really are the Monday lunchtime yoga, which is at 12 till 12:30, and then 10 minutes meditation. You can join either of those. You don't have to do the whole thing. Very gentle, as I say. Thursday night is meditation. That's 7:30 till 8. So it's a deep meditation. And I've got a 4-part series on Sunday nights, which is a kids meditation. All of these are then uploaded onto YouTube and onto my website. So if you miss them, you know, normally it would be part of a different package, but all of those are free and available for anyone that wants them. I also do lots of little tips and techniques that just come to my mind, and I share them on the page as well. So that's under Facebook, Inspire and Rewire, because that was my previous name before, but you can find it on there. The other thing is a group for wellbeing practitioners. It's called Wellbeing Business Support. So it's just kind of helping other people like ourselves, you know, motivation, tips and techniques, basically from my corporate background, you know, helping them set up or grow or get used to speaking in front of the camera from my public speaking background. So one of the benefits actually of being here at the moment is I'm able to focus a little bit more on that online work that I was already planning, such as I've got a Train the Trainer mini series coming, and some templates, how to run a workshop, how to run a retreat, all these different things. But you'll find all the free stuff there on the page or on YouTube or on my actual website, which is inspire-rewire.com.
That's really cool. Thanks. I tell you what, let's take another song break, and then One of the things that I'm recognizing more and more for people who are now home working is procrastination is setting in. It's like they're on a permanent holiday and don't really want to do any work, and yet they know that it's required. So let's take a break and then let's come back and talk about what you might suggest for that from your corporate background, etc. For people who it's actually getting more and more difficult for them to even consider what working from home truly is. What tips have you got for us?
Yeah, lots really. I mean, I think unless you've had some time by yourself, like I lived on my own for 5 years as well, and being overseas away from sort of friends and family, that gives you a real opportunity to find your own rhythm. You know, your circadian rhythm, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and it gives you like a toolkit of what to do on what I call a spiral. So we all have our downward and upward spirals, and it's all unique to us. And when you spend some time by yourself, even if you can, you get to a place that's not favorable in your head, it's actually a really good opportunity to learn a bit more about yourself. And I've got various blogs on this experience that I've had with myself. I went to a really bad place and I had like almost, an epiphany of something very, very basic. I remember thinking to myself, it's not up to my friends to contact me. It's about me understanding that we're all in the same situation. And even a smile from a stranger is a gift. It's a whole long story, and I'll put the link to the blog. But what I mean is, we can take this opportunity to understand ourselves more. It is all about self-awareness. My definition of mindfulness is getting to know yourself. So it's pause. You pause, you take a step and look at yourself, and then you make a choice. It's in 3 parts. So that pause can be a moment in time, a breath, or it can be a long few days off, a retreat, whatever that is. Checking in with yourself. How am I feeling? Or what do I want to do? And then the choice is either a shift of mind, emotion, or a bigger life choice. So that's how I see mindfulness. So with the spiral, you get to learn, where do I start to drop? Is it that I start to feel flat? Is it that I start to feel a bit demotivated, a bit lethargic? Or for somebody else, is it that I get more anxious? And you get to know yourself and recognize that that's okay. We all have those feelings, and those niggles, they're just coming from such a positive place inside you to tell you, oh, by the way, you're going down. And so when you start to see it, that is an amazing thing. You might not be able to shift it yet, but recognizing it is something to actually say, do you know what, well done. Because in the past, I was so busy. I was so living on that kind of hamster wheel that I didn't even know that was a sign from myself. So we get to recognize, 1, what are our signals, our red flags? 2, what are the triggers for that? What's making that happen? And then 3, putting the solutions in place. So the solutions are very different for each person. And not only that, but depending on where you are in that spiral. We were talking about walks. For me, when I'm feeling a bit flat and demotivated, a walk will always, mainly on any level of that spiral, get me out of it. But if I'm very, very low and very lethargic, I struggle. I struggle to actually get out, knowing that it will make me feel good. So the one thing that I've come to know is humour. Humour shifts me like that. So if I can have like just a few little video clips that really make me giggle, then that can shift me, and then I can start to think, maybe I will go for that walk, or maybe I'll just stand outside. I've got a blog about getting back into things and how to take it slow without expectations. We have this expectation on ourselves, like, right, I'm going to healthy eat, I'm going to cut everything out from tomorrow, I'm going to do this and do that. And it becomes such a big thing that we procrastinate, as you say. So if you wanted to get back into walking, what you do is you put your trainers on and you sit outside in the garden and you walk over to the tree and you look at the tree and you start from there, and that feels good. You get that dopamine hit for actually achieving it. Then you start to go outside. So there's loads of other tips and techniques that I can run you through if you want me to do that now, or we can...
I'll do what, let's have a break, and then we can come back with those. So, keep, chat and music, keep keep that going, and then we'll come back and you can give us your hints and tips, and that would be fabulous. So thanks for that. Stay tuned, we'll be back shortly.
Eat the frog before. So it's great.
Yeah.
So eat the frog, for anyone that doesn't know, is when you've got a list of things that you might want to do. So if you're doing work, because there's obviously a different audience here, you've got people that are working but feeling lethargic, and you've got people that are not working but are also feeling lethargic.
That as well, yeah.
So if you're working and you've got stuff to get through, I would always advise still talk to your employers, talk to your team members, and talk things through, because it is a time for bonding and understanding as well. And I'd always encourage you to do that. But if the eat the frog is when you've got something on your to-do list that you're really dreading and it's the worst thing and you don't want to do it. And that's why it's called Eat the Frog. And it says, you know what, why don't you just do that one first? Get it out of the way. The reason for that is not just to get it out of the way, but with it being on that list, it's just gently like annoying you in your head all day.
Like croaking at you, isn't it? Like a frog would.
And exactly. And it's like, if you got it out of the way, you would feel so much more productive. That may work for some, it may not work for others. It depends if you work under pressure or not. So we have this cortisol, don't we? This stress hormone. And it can be upside down. Hormones can impact it and everything else. So if you're feeling exhausted and you need a little bit more of that, sometimes it's worth putting a little bit of a challenge in place. So it might be that you put a phone call in earlier in the day to get yourself up and out and ready for it. If you're the type of person that needs to build to it, then you do that in the afternoon. This is about knowing yourself and being authentic with yourself, because you can obviously cheat yourself and go, yeah, I'll do it in the afternoon because I'm more of an afternoon person. But monitor yourself and just see, does that work? Does that work for me? Or is it making it worse? There's obviously things that people recommend anyway, which is outside, walking. These are the 5 principles of yoga. It's nutrition, relaxation, it's thoughts, it's exercise, and it's breath. Those 5 things, even if you just introduce one of those things a day, then the positive spiral will help you break that cycle and start somewhere else. Start to build momentum on the other ones. You don't have to start with everything at once. I have this 10-day group that I do, and it's all about baby steps, building up, working with the mind and these 5 principles. By the time you get to the end of it, you're already on a roll and you're doing it. Try not to pressure yourself to be like, right, tomorrow is the day that I'm going to be all on it again.
Yeah, and just go, you put the breathing last, but actually this virus affects the lungs so intensely that I'm beginning to see more and more doctors putting out things about good breathing practice to actually activate the lungs. So even if you're at home and you've got this, it's a mild form, medium form of this virus, actually exercising the lungs more and actually breathing in and learning how to breathe properly, because so many of us are breathing from the upper chest when actually we're not breathing into the back, where the lungs, there's a lot of our lungs in our back. And so I think it's great that you mentioned breathing, because it's really, we do need to have a lot more of that going on, as it were. Is there anything breathing wise that you could just give us a little run through right now? Just something really simple.
Yes, I've got so many tips on breathing, and
I know.
Yes. And I have to remind myself, it's about being mindful of your body. Again, this is about being mindful. Just before I give you my tip on that, I remember once when I was extremely stressed in my corporate job, and I was making some soup on one evening, and I had nowhere to go, there was nowhere to be, and yet my shoulders were scrunched up to my ears, and I was stirring the soup as fast as I could, and I just went, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I took a deep breath, and I just relaxed my shoulders, and I thought, that is because cortisol is running around my body, and it becomes addictive. So what we need to do is release that cortisol through bringing oxytocin, endorphins, dopamine, and so on. And breath can do this. It can do it so smoothly and so fast, and it's free. So there's a couple of types, and it depends on whether you get anxious in your breath or not. Depends which one will work for you. So there's the yogic breath, where you place one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest, and it's better to lie down for this one, I feel.
Mm.
And as you inhale, you expand the belly, so the belly expands, then the chest. Then as you exhale, the chest relaxes, and then the belly deflates. And this, if you visualize in your mind how a baby breathes into their belly. It's only when we feel tension that we rise it up into the chest. So that's one, it's called the yogic breath. Then you've got the 4 in, 4 out, and there are some beautiful apps out there as well that help you. It's like a ball that expands and then come out. If you want to take that one step further, my favorite breath is very similar to that. You breathe in for 4, hold for a moment, and you breathe out for 8. Now what this does is this is coming more into true pranayama, which is controlling of the breath, because you're slowly letting the breath out. This helps you in your mind, in your body, to get empowerment back. So where you feel out of control, where things are going on around you, that subtly reminds you that you can control that. So it might not be that it's 8, it might just be that you breathe out for 6, just a little bit longer than your inhale. So if it's in for 4, maybe it's out for 6, or it's out for 8. It's also been known to be used in labour because it brings oxytocin, which helps that as well. So the oxytocin helps release the cortisol on the body. So maybe just set like something, a timer to do it twice a day, because it sounds ridiculous, but we do forget and we don't allow ourselves, you know. So even if that's all we do.
Yeah, we don't consider it until we're overstressed, and then it's really difficult to even come back, isn't it, to actually get the breath working.
Yes, and if you struggle to relax into any kind of meditation or yoga, just listen to some of the ones I've got on YouTube, because I take it really, really slow, and I bring in a little bit of the hypno that allows you to give yourself permission to relax, which is also important.
That first breath you mentioned, with the hand like in the chest area, I was thinking over the heart and over the belly, sounds like a great one to do as you go to bed, to really help the body to calm and get you into a lovely easeful place to fall asleep. So I love the sound of that one. Let's just have our final break, and then we'll come back for the final section of the show.
Lots of hugs from the family and hellos to random people down the street, and sort of work-wise, right, well, certainly for toddler-wise, getting back to those baby groups and things, lifesaver.
Yeah.
And but work-wise, I've got 4 more retreats coming up. So the August one is still so far ongoing, and I've got my Me Time Festival that was due to be at the end of June this year, but we've already taken that decision to take it out to September, and we'll go from there. You know, we might do a virtual one, we might extend to next year. I'm just going with the flow really of what comes up, focus on a lot of my online content and online support that I've got coming up as well. So yeah, I mean, I guess just looking forward to adventure, exploration. I've got my one of my big birthdays coming up this year as well in August, so I was due to go on the Orient Express, but
Oh no,
I couldn't book it because I couldn't make my mind up. So and it's my mum's big birthday at the same time, so I guess fingers crossed that things will be okay for then. And honestly speaking, it's nice because it makes you appreciate whatever I do will be something really lovely by then.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm with you. I'm actually very calm about all of this, and I just get that this, you know, we have to do what we have to do right now. Otherwise, death toll, you know, from all of this is going to be way bigger than it already is. So let's just, you know, knuckle down, people, and stay safe. Nick, thank you so much for finding the time in everything you're doing, and your daughter being quiet wherever you put her.
On TV, don't feel guilty, mums. Dads.
She's watching TV. No, absolutely. I had kids who were well into TV. It made my life so much easier when I just let go of all that judgment from other mums that said it was the wrong thing to do. It's like, you know, it's absolutely fine. We still love our telly and box sets and films, and we do everything else as well. You know, it's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so very, very much. So Nick Wagstaff, Inspire, Rewire. Nick, you've got Facebook, you've got other social media platforms, you've got YouTube, you're doing lives on Facebook of yoga and meditation, mindfulness, loads of stuff that people can tune into that you're doing. One more.
Fun sing-along on Friday, 4
Doing
p.m. Choir singer lady, she's amazing. It's all Disney stuff.
Cool.
Good for the soul. How can I forget that one? It's so good for your stress release. And it's music.
Yeah, love it. Thank you so very, very much. And hopefully I'll be back next week. At the moment, the guest that I was meant to have next week is stuck in New Zealand. She hasn't been able to get home. So not quite sure what's going to happen there, but don't worry. Something will sort itself out. It always does. Thanks, Nick. Thanks so very, very much. Thanks everyone for listening. Bye for now.